The story of medieval villages shrinking and being emparked is a common one in Lincolnshire. But here at South Ormsby, we have a chance to follow the story on through the centuries that followed.
The house you see today is the final version of a manor that has evolved over time. The third story was added in the 19th century. Before that was a magnificent neoclassical pediment that topped off the 18th century house designed by the famed architect James Payne. Before that was a 17th century brick manor house built by Sir Drainer Massingberd just after the English Civil War. Even at the end of the 17th century, when Sir Drainer's son inherited it, the house would have been quite a luxurious modern building, quite a contrast to the timber dwellings of the ordinary people. It was at this time, in the early 1690s, that Samuel and Susanna Wesley, the parents of the Methodist John Wesley, moved into the parish rectory. So the church is behind us here, and the bank curves around to our side.
Oh, right, yes.
So the main house is probably further back, somewhere over here.
Right. So this is where the rectory was?
Yes, there'd have been a central hall with a parlour at each end. And by 1690 there'd have been a second floor at eaves height, accessible by a ladder.
Sounds a bit dark, a bit cramped to me.
Yes, Samuel Wesley describes it as in a mean cot composed of reeds and clay, wasting in size the uncomfortable day. It's certainly a sharp contrast with the wealth and luxury of the manor house, and that may have influenced Samuel Wesley's judgment of the local gentry, particularly when he refused entry into the church as the future Earl of Castleton's mistress.
Yeah, that would have sealed his fate, I think.
And got him sent to Epworth. In the first half of the 18th century, the hall was rebuilt, and an ornate formal garden laid out to the south.
There would have been raised walkways around the edge, and an Italianate grotto facing the house. Flower beds and box hedges would have divided the open space in front of the house, and a circular lake would have dominated the view from the hall. A large part of the garden would have been a shrubbery, with a spring-fed pond hidden amongst the trees.
We know more about the gardens here from the original surveys and plans drawn by local designer Edward Gardner. His survey shows us the garden as William Kent designed it, and his proposals for how it could be more formalised with paths and ponds laid out through the trees. Sometimes garden elements from centuries past can still be found in historic gardens. Are these the railings first made for William Kent's continental-style garden?
The formal gardens, Jim, what happened to them?
In the late 18th century, they went out of fashion and were replaced by more naturalistic landscapes, championed by designers such as Capability Brown. It was all about lightly wooded parkland and serpentine lakes. Those who had the money and a position in society to maintain began replacing their formal gardens with strategically placed trees designed to carry the eye to a particular vista. As well as fashion, economic changes also reshaped the landscape, and estates became models of efficient farming, often supporting a community that might otherwise have become dispersed or urbanised. The process continues as new owners take this 18th century estate into the 21st century. With woodland regeneration and new business opportunities, the estate at South Ormsby continues in the hope of preserving this unique sense of place for future generations. Heritage Lincolnshire is also working to preserve Lincolnshire's unique sense of place. And if you want to help that process, then contact Heritage Lincolnshire and see what opportunities are available.